Existing in anticipation of what will happen is tantamount to the infinite waiting for something that might not even occur in life. Learning, as you are soon to find out, is the whole series of successive steps. We have grade 1, second grade, third grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, all falling under the same word gratis, which in Latin means a step. You will eventually get a degree. You know you have gone through those phases, and you've done it so that when you finally succeed, like in your situation as president of your company, there is this AV feeling that you've been robbed. This is a point where you've already reached the summit, you've ascended the staircase, you're at the top, there's no other place to go. Meanwhile, because you weren't trained to look at what's happening right now, then you're behind the times, so to speak. And so an insurance salesperson comes by and says, listen, I got the exact thing for you, a retirement plan just because you're 65. We aren't instructed to stay in the eternal present in school. It is deemed inconsiderate, but it is not careless at all unless one believes it's an obligation to survive. If you don't do that, you're a pest. You're violent or a thief or a robber trying to mobilize the people. So what I'm saying is, you're a maniac of power. In discovering how to live in the here and now, one simply forgets the extremely simple, cheap art of living in the moment. It doesn't actually require an absolutely terrible amount of energy to live a human life if you actually take a look at what you must eat, what you must wear, and how much shelter you must have. You get to sit back and appreciate the grand view for once, such as the fact that you have all you need. But if you notice a single drop of rain travel down a window pane, you may be driven to say, wow, isn't that cool? And everyone may respond, are you crazy? You are just looking at a drop of water moving down a window. Can't you do something more important and productive? That is, surely you can create more havoc than this, right? The present mindset that believes it is pointless to envision the serene view of a raindrop traveling on a glass is the mindset responsible for so much delay in the world. It all makes sense as to why people say, you are worthless. You are non-human unless you are doing something which brings about change, doing something radical. We would still want to equate warfare with development always. Unless an idea is being realized, unless a groundbreaking plan is being implemented and you are immersed in it, folks will be likely to say, well, laze around. You are failing at most because you are not really working hard enough to create the potential. But are not these words so self-professed? The future is not something to be concerned with. And whoever does that should sit down. Because of this, individuals don't partake in activities that have to do with the future. For example, a Chinese would labor only up to a point where he gains a profit, but after that, he leaves work so that he may go to casinos, or smoke opium, or go sightseeing. This corresponds to the line you just read. For human beings, these tendencies are disgusting. They would declare, how absolutely incapable and irresponsible is it to squander time in such pursuits? It appears to me the overall ruin is brought about by the individuals who think everything should be advancing, while they also think the manner the world is run is kept in good order. There is naturally a difference between, on the one hand, those who spread some ethics and principles and those who can accomplish things. It is true for us that we are fortunate to have had a gigantic first victory. All wars would have been in existence in the form of an H-bomb. These people who are not political are coming to us saying, the problem with you is you do not know what you want. Individuals have established a future upon which they labor, but feel like they're all wet and no vomit. You have not yet reached the point of receiving that faith in which everything would work out right. And that is a brazen lie, a promise. Your money too is a promise. It is said very explicitly on a dollar bill. A dollar will be rendered in promise by the United States Treasury. What are you to receive when you give them this and tell them, come on now, I want whatever it is this dollar is, and they give you papers as a loan? Gold is lost, and them giving you anything including gold is now but a dream. Anything can be guessed. So all these myriads of so-called primitive folks such as Amar Indians, Mexican Indians, Africans don't talk to us and we don't talk to them because they don't desire what we consider the good society. Well, some of them do, of course. And so, in Japan, for instance, the Japanese have been well and truly conned into believing that the Western lifestyle is a good thing, And so they are, by and large, hysterical and industrialist. And so consequently, the cities of Nara, Osaka, and Kobe are filled with smog. Tokyo is just a Midas, but they're catching on. So the whole thing is, the future is an illusion. You know the main ideas in Hindu cosmology, that is basically in the series of yugas or epochs. You're beginning with great state of affairs and then slowly deteriorate from there, which is another way of telling people only things fall apart in the passage of time. So get out of time, get out of the wheel of the rat's samsara. This brings me to a concept I think of as the politics of diversion. Divert Western man away from his history, from believing he is a part of history that is always moving towards the future, but rather which knows only an increase of destruction towards later ends. Divert people away from chronology by resorting to ageless style of life, which is thus satisfying than life that is bound to time. That doesn't eliminate our technological power, because one of the entire point of technology is that through technology we can eradicate poverty once and for all. But it can't be thought of historically. So long as it's thought historically, it won't. That is true. The whole curse of money and spending money that can be created by technology in the whole world is only a psychosocial problem, not a material problem. Individuals get enamored with money, which represents gold as a real thing. This is a wrong idea, which in its true sense obfuscates the difference between money and gold. Any poor man would place the remainder of his life in spurning if an economist would state that one kind of poverty was gold. I think the status of gold was perhaps one of those things that, however uncomfortable that it feels, was quite correct. There's one legend, which is that at a certain point of time, they did not like to ship gold bars across borders, and thus a decision was taken to put all the bank's headquarters on some central Pacific island. So once all the gold was housed there and then, if they wished to switch some gold, then it was sufficient to roll over in the street. And everything was fine for approximately 10 years. And then all bank presidents from different worlds visited the island and had a gigantic convention with their wives and kids. They reviewed the ledgers and transactions, and everything was fine. On the very last day, though, the children announced, "Daddy, we want to see the gold." That is how the bank president would speak to the managers. "Moms and dads, take our children down to the vault so that they can see the gold." And therefore, all those managers will tell you, "Well, it's sort of hard and a little bit of a problem, and it takes too much time." And the president would answer, "Well, don't be foolish. What's the trouble? Blind to gold?" And they hemmed and hawed, and then finally replied, "Well, we're afraid to tell you there was an earthquake 7 years ago, and the gold was all buried underground." But naturally, we all knew how much we had at the time, and so for that time, we wrote down the amount. That is, it is a source of laughter. People don't realize, that money is bookkeeping, nothing but bookkeeping. Thus, the entire idea of taxation, for example, is a total anachronismo. The stream of the world's real wealth is this preoccupation with money. And what you have to do is really reverse taxation, and instead of issuing money, issue credit. But you must keep the credit in balance to the gross national product somehow in figuring, and then everyone can circulate what they're producing. Otherwise, you're in this absurd position where people are starving in India, and we're stockpiling food supplies and burning them and attempting to dump them in the ocean, which is absolute madness. But it's all founded on a psychological block regarding money. So this sort of psychological block is what in Indian philosophy would be referred to as Maya. It is an illusion. It's the same type of illusion as the illusion of the future. The notion that the future is when we are actually going to live. And if that's how you function, when you arrive there, you're never going to be able to cope because you still want a future in front of you. You're a chronic donkey with a carrot hanging from your collar on a rod, always chasing it.